yeah, today we're going to be talking a little bit about Stiletto and Saltillo. And they've got a couple of different things for their software. Are you guys familiar with Saltillo and what they do?
I am not.
Okay. So there's, of course, 1,000 different speaking apps. A lot of them have pros and cons. One of the things that people really like about this one is it's a lot more conversational as far as flowing like you would flow through a natural sentence. As you know, a lot of communication apps are a little bit more broken up and choppy, and so it doesn't necessarily it doesn't flow. It doesn't have that smooth transition whenever you're speaking with somebody. And so one thing that Saltillo has done is they've made their software be more conversational in a lot of respects. So anyways, what I do, I work with the Family Cafe. That's why I've got the red coat on, and I do a lot of the different technology things. One of the specific technology things that I do is the Assistive technology program, and that program it's a statewide program, so we have different centers throughout the state, and it's done by FAAST. And FAAST has the AT room. I don't know if you guys have gone by yet.
That's the first place I went.
All right, good. So I've got a couple of brochures, and obviously I don't need that whole stack here. So the top one here talks about what the regional centers do, and the bottom one is more of a general guide about the statewide program. So the regional centers are located throughout the state. I'm up in Tallahassee, but there's one in Pensacola, Jacksonville, Miami, Tampa. The Orlando area has one. So the entire state of Florida is covered by different centers. And basically the way that it works is we offer different trainings. We offer loans so that people can try out devices without having that obligation of, I just went out and bought a $500 device and now my child doesn't want to use it. And so it's one of those things of try before you buy. You kind of get to experience it without having any obligation to purchase it. We're not salespeople, so we don't get any kind of commission. If someone buys a particular item, it's not like we're going to push something more than anything else because we're not really directly affiliated with any company. We're not getting any kind of commission. We're not getting any kind of benefit from pushing a particular product over another. So generally speaking, if there's just anything that you're interested in and we have it, we're going to let you try it out. We're not like exclusive to any one type of technology. We're not exclusive to any specific type of disability either. So it's all disability types, all age ranges. It would go from birth to death. And again, we really try to be inclusive of everybody. And it's not just speaking apps. So today I'm going to be talking about different speaking apps, but it covers all types of assistive technology. And if you guys are familiar with the term assistive technology, you know that it goes and covers a really wide range. It's not just high-tech devices like these. It could be a shoehorn that's longer. It could be a grab bar that doesn't necessarily have any electronics in it. All of that falls under that umbrella of assistive technology. So again, I would really encourage you, if there's devices that you've seen that you want to try out, get in contact with us and let us know, because again, some of these devices, if you're going to try and go and purchase them without insurance, like I think these ones are over $1,200 to go and buy without insurance. And
so these are devices, not apps.
So yeah, this company, they make both. They make apps and they make devices, but primarily their focus is going to be on purpose-built devices. So this is on a Samsung tablet. So it is technically just a standard tablet, but they made their own software for it.
Okay.
And they have made it in a way to where the only thing that you actually use it for is the speaking. So essentially it's a dedicated device. It's just for their speaking apps. Again, there's a lot of other companies. One that's really popular for the iPad would be Proloquo to go. I don't know if you guys have heard of that one. So what they do is They were one of the first ones to really make an app that was really popular for speaking. And they made it for the iPad. It is still only on the iPad, but it is a lot of people's favorite just because it's been around so long for the iPad. And again, it's a speaking app just like this one. It's not quite as conversational as this one. It doesn't have, I mean, you can customize it to be any way that you want it to be. So you could customize specific phrases in there, so it could be just as conversational, but the pre-programmed stuff is a little bit more utilitarian in like, I want drink, you know, and so instead of I would like a drink of water, it's more like, you know, or you could say I want water, but
So technically, they don't learn English, they just learn the words that they need to communicate.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a sense, this one, you're learning English. Let's just say we're using English as an example, because I'm assuming you have multiple languages.
Yeah, so I've got two actually here, and I'll let you guys play around with them. This one's in English and this one's in Spanish. So if you want to just play around, you're welcome to. You can switch around. But that one has a Bluetooth speaker on the back, and it should be on. And so what you do is, as you go through the menus, you just start to construct whatever phrase you want. So if, and would you get it to speak? Let's see, this one, the volume might be turned down on it.
So how does it read the word?
It's speaking, isn't it?
So does it read the whole sentence to you?
Yeah, so if you tap this top.
Ah.
Yeah.
So it does flow, it doesn't sound.
Speaker's just not working. I think it's the Bluetooth that's messed up. Let's see.
There's a lot of options here. Jesus.
So with this one, it can go through the Bluetooth or the regular speaker that's already built into it. And for some reason, Bluetooth is not. Yeah, that's power, but it's not coming out of the speakers. Sorry about that. I can switch off with this one and you can try this one. Sorry, for some reason the speaker's not working. And I'd have to troubleshoot it a little bit, see why it's not doing it. But that's the other thing is Bluetooth can also be a little bit finicky. So one thing you'll notice with the iPads especially is if you have Bluetooth switches that you hook into them, I've had the hardest time with Bluetooth, especially when Apple doesn't update it, whenever they roll out their updates. That whole batch of their last Bluetooth a lot of times will get basically eliminated from support. And so you'll have switches that were working for somebody and then they're like, oh, it's not working anymore. And you're like, well, what happened? And it turns out Apple put out an update or something like that. And then so their Bluetooth switch doesn't work anymore.
So my question is, so I'm actually a vocational counselor, and my job is to determine feasibility of work. And one of my major things, I'm out of Kissimmee, population in Kissimmee is very Spanish. And a lot of my clients have very minimal English. And so the reason I came here is I wanted to see how this would help, exactly how can I incorporate a device like this when my client is full functioning, you know, obviously they can talk, walk, there's no, the only disability I guess you can say would be the fact that they have limited English. And so obviously I can't put them to work face to face with someone because, you know, but I mean, they can work at a retail store back home, or they can work, you know, I don't know, a restaurant, they can,
So one thing you can do would be, now if if their disability is related to speech, it is not uncommon for someone to use a device like this to help someone learn how to speak, even if it's learning another language. So devices like this are sometimes used for helping someone learn English, just because what you can do is you can set it up, say, in Spanish for somebody. You set it up the exact same way in English, and it has pictures, you know, with what it is and everything. So then they start to learn, and they can construct a phrase, and then, again, it would typically be used for someone who's still less verbal, but maybe has some verbal ability. But because everything's laid out the same way, it's all the same words, it's the same picture, now they know how to construct a phrase in English, and then as they learn, and as that speaks for them, then they start to learn English. So that is sometimes used. One recommendation I would have, though, if you're going to go that route, would be probably to use an iPad rather than investing in one of these, and you'll get the added benefit of English apps or English learning apps that you can download onto the iPad, so they can use multiple devices or just one device to do multiple things. And I would say the iPad would probably be your best bet for teaching English, because you're going to have a lot of different learning apps that are available for learning English on the iPad. Whereas on these, they're kind of more locked down. You can't really add additional apps to them as much. So.
Well, then I also deal with the population of students who have, you know, selective autism, who are autistic, who don't talk, or, you know, very little.
Yeah.
So those will be more for these. Those are our candidates for these.
That would probably be the best candidate for that,
Okay.
for sure. And again, so when we wrote up the presentation proposal for this, Michael was just kind of coming up with things, and he wanted to showcase how these are really good for both English and Spanish, because they make them for English and Spanish. But really, what I really wanted to talk about today was more of the FAAST program, because the FAAST program has a lot of really great resources that a lot of people just don't take advantage of. They're just really not aware that it even exists for them, and so they just don't use it because they don't know that it's there. So I would say, you know, especially in a case like that, where you have individuals who are needing devices, bring them into one of the centers. And if the center's not close enough, we have, so this other one that just says FAAST with the, it doesn't have the regional demonstration center on it. That talks about the statewide device loan program. So the statewide device loan program, the way that it works, is if you have a device that you want to try out, you can go on our website and request it, or you can give us a call. If you don't see it on our website, sometimes it means we don't have it. A lot of times we probably still do have a device. We just might not have it up on our website. So you can call us and request it. If we don't have it, we'll usually go ahead and buy it, and then we can mail it to you, and we'll put a return label in there for you to mail it back and everything like that. So typically the loan period from the statewide lending library is a little bit longer. And they can also do what's called a recurring loan. So they can loan it out for a lot longer period. So maybe if someone needs it for 6 months or something like that, and they can do that a lot more easily than the regional centers can, just because they have a little bit more leeway with how much time someone can borrow a device.
I know there's all these kinds of funding. With the loan program, is that like an installment loan? Technically, can you do like an installment loan?
Yeah, so when we talk about the loan program with the FAAST, there's actually two different loan programs. So there's the financial loan program, which would be like what you're talking about, and then there's the device loan program. The device loan program is free. It doesn't cost anything to participate. It's like checking out a book from the library. You go, you check it out, you try it. After you're done, if you like it, we can get you in contact with the person that you would need to contact to purchase it. And then if you're also, like a lot of times to get funding for a device, maybe from insurance or something like that, you have to show that this device is actually helping them before they're willing to buy it. So it's a really great way to show that, and you know, in conjunction with maybe the therapist, say, look, they've used this device for 6 months. We can document that they've made this much progress. Now we want to purchase the device for them to keep. So this is how we are going to show that this is the device that they need. So it can be beneficial in that way too. So with the financial loan program, the way that would work is, say you find a device that you want, or you already have a device that you know that you want, and you don't even need to borrow it to know that. But the client just doesn't have enough money to purchase it. We will help them by giving them a loan to buy the device, and then they just pay us back. So it's really good for small loans that a bank wouldn't typically fund. And you know,
Do they charge like the interest rate?
There's
Is
a-
there an application fee?
there's no application fee.
Credit check?
There is a credit check and an interest rate associated with it. It's very reasonable. We try and get the very lowest possible interest rate. We're not in it to really make money off of them. We're just in it to try and get them the device that they need. So, Eric, if you go back into the FAAST room, we can talk to you more about it. But he's going to try and get them whatever the lowest possible rate is that they can get on that loan. And he's really good about working with different insurances, or if Medicaid or Medicare is going to cover anything, he'll get those coverages first, and then whatever portion they don't cover will help make up the difference, so that it's as little out of pocket for the client as possible. So, and he's really good about, you know, again, we're not in this to make someone get a loan that they don't need, or that is going to, you know, put them in a position where they can't pay it back or something like that. And he's used to working with all kinds of different income ranges. I think he's given loans out as small as like $30 for people. So again, it's a really great program for people who are on that fixed income. Like, you know, $30 for them is like, I can't do that because everything that I have is consumed by all my expenses. But maybe you can afford $2 a month for however long, you know, 15 months or something like that, and he can do that. So it's just one of those things of, it's a really great program that people just don't know exists, and so they don't participate in it. So, yeah. And again, so these tablets, just one of the great things about them is just their conversational ability. You can still search the web through them, and these are a little bit older, so I think the newer ones have a little bit more of that web browsing capability and chat capability than the older ones. But again, one thing that's just cool about these ones is you can do that slightly more conversational, a little bit more advanced speaking that's a back and forth, as opposed to a chopped up, you know, different words just thrown together that if someone hears it, they know what they're talking about. They know that they need to use the restroom or need to find something or get, you know, something like that. But this kind of makes a different level for somebody, because they're not necessarily feeling like they're being excluded in some way. They're feeling a little bit more like I'm having a conversation, as opposed to just I'm communicating, but I'm not communicating conversationally. So yeah, that's kind of the purpose of Saltillo and what they do. Okay. Well, do you guys have any other questions or comments about the program?
The program has just an app, or is just a program? I can find an app with the...
For these ones, they do make some different apps. If you go to their website, NovaChat is the company. So what you'd want to do is look up, let me see if I can see what it says here. Yeah. So like these ones are the NovaChat 10. But there's different NovaChat devices that they make, and they have a whole line of products. And Saltillo is one of those that's under that umbrella of what they make. And again, those devices are an all-in-one device. But again, there are a lot of other speaking apps. And generally speaking, if you're going to get dedicated devices, probably the top names in that would be like NovaChat or Topi Dynavox would be another one that makes the dedicated device really really popular. As far as devices that are made for apps, there's a lot of them now. One that's up and coming that is not as popular yet, but I think is really going to grow a lot in popularity and will probably start to dominate the market a lot more is Gumdrop, because they have a cloud-based system that you can use on any device. So you could use it on an iPad, you could use it on an Android tablet, you can use it on your computer. If you were so inclined to go in and use it on a laptop, you could actually use it like that. So a Windows tablet would also work. And the reason that works is because theirs is cloud-based, so rather than having to have a specific app, you can just use the internet and log into their server, and everything's already programmed in there, and so that's why you can go to any device. And so a lot of people really like that because, say you're a teacher who has a student and you're helping them learn, well, maybe you've set up a whole, and they call these different things boards that have the different arrangements on them. And that goes back to a day when they still do it today. They still use paper where you can point to the board and say, okay, I want an apple or something like that. So you just point to it. So it's still called a board, but even though it's a digital thing, and we can change it up. And one really popular program for that would be Board Maker. You can make a lot of different boards with Board Maker for different speaking apps. But yeah, so they have pre-programmed boards, and then they have ones that you can customize yourself. So say a teacher is working with a student and she's set up the board in a specific way. Well, if they can't take their device home, and they go home and they start using a different board, then it becomes confusing because they don't know the layout, they don't know where to find words and how to maybe navigate. If they use Gumdrop, then wherever they log into it, if they're logging in at home or at school, or they go to the library, or they use a friend's device, it'll still be exactly the same. And so it really helps with that learning process of everything's in the same place, everything's just like I expected to be, that kind of thing. Again, I mentioned Proloquo to go, that's a really popular one. Probably the most popular for the iPad. Toby Dynavox is now making apps for the iPad, so they've got a few that are pretty good. Compass is one, but can't remember what the other one is called, but it's made by Toby Dynavox. If you just search for Toby, it'll come up.
Toby with one B?
Tobii. Dynavox is Dynavox. So again, you'll notice I talk about a lot of different devices. Again, that's because I'm not actually affiliated with any of those companies. I could care less which one you buy. I have recommendations that I make to people based on what their needs are. And just knowing maybe a little bit about each program, I'll say, well, it sounds like maybe you need a Tobii Dynavox with eye gaze. And what eye gaze would be someone who maybe can't touch a screen, but can look with their eyes on the screen where they want it to be, and it'll pick up their eyes where they're looking on the screen and select it for them. So that's one that's really popular by Tobii, just because they're one of the first ones to make a really good eye gaze technology. But again, a lot of other companies now have eye gaze, and actually the newest iPad comes with built-in eye gaze technology.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Wow.
And it's actually more inclusive because you don't have to touch the screen at all. It has facial recognition. So for someone with a disability that uses something like eye gaze, it'll unlock their screen for them just by them looking at it. They don't have to necessarily push any buttons or to activate it or turn it on. The only thing that it does make it harder for is people like us that do device loans, because then it has to be programmed to that person's face to unlock it. And so that's problematic for us because we don't like to put people's personal stuff on the iPads. We like them to be able to loan it out and try it out without it being necessarily dedicated to that one person. So it's actually a little bit problematic for us, but it's actually good for the community as a whole. So we just have to figure out ways around that kind of stuff. But again, what usually we do in those cases where even if someone somehow locks the device down, we do still have ways to unlock it and get around that, just because whenever you purchase it, you activate it and whatnot, so. Well, I don't know if you guys want my business card, but I'm gonna be around.
Now, do you work in conjunction with the communications lab at UCF or no?
I don't, but actually in the FAAST room, we do have a couple people that do work over there at UCF. So, yeah, I would definitely talk with them. They actually have a lot more experience than I do with that stuff. Again, I'm not specific to communication. A couple of them in there, that's their main job, is what they do is communication devices. But I do all kinds of different technology. I do a lot of different AT related stuff. So,
You are in the room?
yeah, I'm gonna be in the AT room.
Oh.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, no
Thank you
problem.
so much.
If
Appreciate
you
it.
guys have any other questions or need anything else throughout the conference, just let me know, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.